You've got it.
Of 7 generations to come. It is a timeless message of leadership, stewardship, and legacy. 2026.
Hello, beautiful people.
And we are honored to have
welcome to 2026 TWA
Please join us
Arlington Awards ceremony. And we are live in Washington, D.C. We'll be on ESPN
Tonight,
Plus
for this to recognize members of the Tworton family who left a lasting impact
event
on this game and community. We remember Fred Kale, the sculptor of the Tewaaraton Award, whose remarkable work will forever be part of this ceremony and the legacy of the award. Please recognize Fred. We also recognize 2019 Spirit of Tewaaraton recipient Wells Crowther, the man in the red bandana, who will be awarded the Presidential Medal of Freedom for his heroic actions on September 7th. To our finalists, congratulations. You represent the very best of college lacrosse, not only through your accomplishments on the field, but through your leadership, sportsmanship, and commitment to your teammates. As leaders, we hope you find inspiration in the Haudenosaunee principle of 7 generations. On behalf of the Tworton Foundation, thank you all once again for being with us this evening. It is now my pleasure to introduce Cindy Ziegler, President of the University Club of Washington, D.C., the founder and home of the Tewaaraton Award.
As President of the University Club of Washington, D.C., I'm honored to be with you tonight at this magnificent event. The membership of the University Club created the Tewaaraton Award in 2001 to provide lacrosse players with the national recognition they deserve. Athletics is a key part of the University Club's history, as are intellectual pursuits, both of which reflect the discipline and agility of these student athletes we celebrate tonight. The teamwork, strategy, and commitment embodied in lacrosse will set them up well for success in whatever they aspire to do next. Please know that the University Club is committed to the continuing success of the Tewaaraton Award and the great work of the Tewaaraton Foundation. On behalf of the club, its Board of Governors, and members, I want to acknowledge the Tewaaraton Foundation and its board for their steadfast support of this great award. Most importantly, we celebrate the accomplishments of all the extraordinary athletes who are here with us this evening. They have demonstrated excellence in a sport with a rich and important heritage. So let me conclude with sincere congratulations to all of the finalists. We're proud to be part of the Tewaaraton community. Thank you.
Pushing the game forward and supporting our future Native American leaders, the Tewaaraton Haudenosaunee Scholarships, presented by Hildene Capital, annually honors top high school students of Haudenosaunee heritage who achieve academic excellence and exemplify high character both on and off the lacrosse field. Behind these impactful scholarships is Hildene Capital Management, a global asset management firm managing over $18 billion in assets under management with its recent merger with Jefferies Financial Group and the acquisition of Silac Insurance Company. Hildene is leveraging its expanding global reach to empower the next generation. Now to the scholarship recipients. First up is Jordan Hill Bucktooth of the Turtle Clan, Upper Cayuga of the Grand River, who has earned National Honor Society membership, consecutive magna cum laude honors on the National Latin Exam, and recognition through the College Board National Indigenous Recognition Program.
Wow.
She's also a top goalkeeper and will be playing for the University of Rochester this fall. Jordan writes in her essay, "This is the game my ancestors played to heal. Every time I hold my stick, step into the crease, tap the pipes, then take a shot. I feel myself dig into my mind to feel connected to the generations before me. It is the portal to my heritage, which I still actively search for, desperate to continue to piece myself together. Lacrosse is a guiding light on my path into the future, guiding me to excellent academics, the next level of lacrosse, and my dream career in medicine as a neurosurgeon. And is also the key to the past behind a locked door. Congratulations, Jordan. We're also congratulating Jaden James, a St. Regis Mohawk from Akwesasne, who excelled both academically and athletically at St. John's High School in Washington, D.C., where he was a 4-year National Honor Society member and earned academic honor with distinction recognition each year. One of the nation's top defensemen, he'll play for Syracuse University this fall. Jaden writes in his essay, "When I play, I think about where the game comes from and how I can play a role in shaping the future of the game. I think about my grandfather's generation who played before me. They played not for rankings or scholarships, but for something deeper. I have played with teammates from all different backgrounds, and I find the game connects us all. There is a level of respect that comes from competing and working together, no matter where we come from, where we live, or who we play for. I think lacrosse gives us direction and brings people together. It has opened doors for my education and my future." Congratulations, Jaden. Jordan. One more big round of applause for Jordan and Jaden. Awesome. Congratulations. We are pleased to welcome back this year Jeremy Schaap, one of ESPN's most respected and accomplished journalists. A member of the network since 1994, Jeremy hosts both E60 and Outside the Lines and has earned 16 Sports Emmy Awards over a distinguished career covering nearly every major sporting event around the globe. From the Olympics and World Cup to the Super Bowl and Final Four, Jeremy's storytelling and reporting have made him one of the most trusted voices in sports media. Also a Cornell University graduate, we are excited to have Jeremy back again this year. Please welcome Jeremy Schaap. He is here.
Thank you, everybody. It's great to be back here at the Tewaaraton Awards. It's such a terrific community. We're going to have a great night celebrating what this great game is all about. And I want to welcome to the stage for the first of these discussions that we're going to have throughout the evening, two great champions from the sport who won the Tewaaraton 20 years ago, Kristen Shellman-Marshall and Matt Ward. Guys, come on out. So how's it feel to be back at the Tewaaraton, Kristen?
It feels amazing. It feels like a much bigger space, more people, which is great. Love it.
Matt?
It's remarkable. I mean, God, it seems like yesterday that I was here in 2003 watching Chris Rotelli win the national win the Tewaaraton Award and the national championship, and how fortunate was I to get an example from him to then translate into winning it a few years later, and it's just remarkable to be back. It's great to see everyone in the lacrosse community. It's been such a big part of my life, so it's been great.
When you think about the game and what it's meant in your lives, and you're still involved in the game, both of you, coaching, commentating. How has your life been shaped by being a lacrosse player?
I mean, just being associated with this award has shaped my life. I know in probably more ways than I realize. And it's mostly because of the people, I'm sure, and the company that I'm with. You know, from the people who helped get me to this point at Northwestern, to like people I've met through being a part of the awards, and then just seeing the people over the last 20 years come through as finalists and recipients, and kind of knowing that I'm in their world is pretty special, and it motivates me.
Yeah, I mean, for me, it's all about the people in the lacrosse community. It's such a small world, and like you go on Instagram, you're going to see everyone talking about Lax Bros and how cool it is, and it gives you all these opportunities. But in reality, it to some degree does. I mean, the world that we have, the tightness of the community will open up the doors for everyone who gives everything they have to the game of lacrosse. And you just have to make a focus that you have to give back to expect things on the other side of that. And for me, lacrosse has been the reason that I got to take my son to the Final Four. Last weekend, he was on the field watching Princeton win the national championship. It's like a memory that I'll always have, and I hopefully he'll always have, and I hope to do that with my daughters the next couple of years. So it's been great.
Now, Kristen, of course, you won the award twice, and
Sorry.
it's okay. Not everybody can win it multiple times, but you won multiple national championships, and of course, you won more multiple
gonna
national
keep going.
championships.
Right.
But we don't have to harp on that. You know, 20 years ago, and you were kids at that time. What did it mean to you in the moment winning?
You know, it was amazing. I think I was just so grateful that we had won the national championship when I won. So that was more at the forefront of my mind space, and just having my teammates come back and be here to celebrate with me, you know, meant the world. I actually remember watching Katie and Kyle speak up here last year, and Kyle said something like, you know, I was in the right position at the right time, and I felt like that during that time. Like, I was just so grateful to be in that spot, and that, you know, Kelly and Scott trusted in me, but I also felt like it could have been any of my teammates up in the position that I was in. So it was incredible. It was surreal. But at the time, then it was just more focused on like everyone being together that moment.
And look, I think it's a celebration of your teammates. I think I had the committee confused because I don't even think I was one of the top 3 players on my team. We were like that loaded, and to be able to experience that, but also experience all my teammates were here. I remember celebrating with them, and it was the culmination of an amazing year in my life, right? To go 17-0 and to get this individual award, but like to celebrate with your teammates, as Kristen said, is what was the most important part. And Coach Stargell always told us it's not about the wins or losses, it's about the experience with your teammates, and this was the ultimate payoff for that.
You know, the Tewaaraton guys won. I mean, it was so long ago, right? I mean, we're getting old. You know, and the award was relatively new. I mean, not a lot of people, you know, who weren't really involved in lacrosse knew about it. Now it's a thing, and people are aware. Look where we are. Look, you know, we're on, you know, live TV. We've got a huge crowd. You know, it's grown so much like the sport itself. Do people talk to you about the Tewaaraton, like in a way that, you know, 20 years ago would have been unthinkable because it was just kind of getting off the ground?
Look, I think to your point, like the Chris Rotelli in 2003 when he won it was the second, maybe the third year of the trophy, and now we're 25 years in, and it does come up, and it is in all phases of my life important, right? It was how I got my job at ESPN to do the broadcast stuff, which has been unbelievably fun to do for about 20 years. It's how I got my first job in a sales gig at ESPN, and now in my job and what I do day in and day out, it's like an ultimate like networking tool. And so to have the privilege to kind of experience that is something I never thought would happen when I started playing lacrosse, but I'm sure glad it did.
Yeah, for me, it's kind of like instant credibility, which is nice sometimes. But it's also, I still feel like there's a lot of awareness to be done, and I coach a lot of like young girls and even my daughter's teams now, and I'm like, I was leaving yesterday and I'm like, all right, who knows what the Tewaaraton is? And no one raised their hand. I'm like, all right, we're gonna have a lesson right now. And so yes, it's totally meaningful, and I think I am always like blown away when I am able to tell people that, but I think there's a lot to be done in spreading the word.
Those kids you coach, right? Those young kids, do they know how good you were? Like, or do they think like, come on, really?
No. I mean, I watched the games with my daughters this weekend, and they're like, oh, like, so Chloe and Madison are up for it, and is that the same award? I'm like, yeah. They're like, Mom, you're not that good. Like, there's no way. So, yeah.
We can never impress our kids, right? What about you?
Excuse me. I live in Chicago, and lacrosse is on the way up, but not a massive. There we go. My girls were there. I watched you all win the national championship. So
Chicago.
But it's cool for my kids to be able to know that we had the success. I never looked like the prototypical athlete lacrosse player, but like I do have to convince them that I was. I look probably more like it now than I did then, believe it or not, which was surprising. Coach Sarge used to call me an endomorph all the time, but it is cool.
I get mixed up. Which one is that? That's not the good one.
No, I don't. It didn't seem like a compliment at the time. Maybe it is now, but it is certainly something that you wear as a badge of honor, and to still be involved in the sport and to have that, it's great.
The way the game is played now, we all know everything evolves, everything elevates over time. How do you think in today's game you would adapt as a player, Chris?
If I were playing today? Well, I'd work on my explosiveness. Just seeing the speed of the game is incredible. And I love to play midfield, so yeah, I love keeping up technology as well and trying to, keep up the stick skills. But I love seeing the strategy. I love seeing the game planning, everything that goes into the way it's strategically evolved.
Do you like the game now, the way it's played?
I love it. Yeah, I love watching it.
Yeah, look, I hope I could have played at this level, but if you really kind of explore how talented the players are now and the skill that they have, what they can do, the creativity, it's on a whole other planet, right? I probably would have been a good scout player at this point in time, but it's just kidding. I was started. It's fine. No, but it was
no false humility.
I do think the game is more and more fun to watch. What the players are able to do, it's just some of the things they're doing. You wouldn't even think about it. Like your coach would bench you if you tried to do some of the plays that they do, but they do it with efficiency. They do it with athleticism, and I think our sport is in the best place it's been in some time because of all the work the players put into it, but also with organizations like the Tewaaraton Award and the foundation and building the sport and hopefully getting it to the next level.
The Olympics, 2 years away, right? In LA, sport's back. It's only been 120 years or so as a medal sport. What do you think that does for the game? How does that help promote, elevate, advance what we're talking about, Kristen?
I think it's what we need. It's that like world level stage. I'll never forget coming back from the World Cup in the airport and people were like, oh, are you guys, did you go to the Olympics? Are you going to the Olympics? What's happening? And we had said, no, we won the World Cup though. And they were like, oh, okay, congratulations, and moved on. So
yeah,
just having that yeah, it's so cute. But having that credibility, I think is going to be huge for the sport.
I mean, the sport's addicting, right? So for people who don't know it, who don't get to see it, who don't live in a hotbed community, when they do watch it, they do experience it, like, you can't help but be drawn to it. And I think the Olympics, with that opportunity, with that network, with that viewership, it's going to be great for the sport.
Are you going to be calling games?
Here's my ask. My kids definitely
NBC, if anybody from NBC is watching?
No, my kids definitely want to go to LA and watch lacrosse in the Olympics, so that would be a nice way to get there.
Well, this has been great. Thank you guys so much. Congratulations on the 20th anniversary of your wins.
Thank you.
It's been a pleasure.
Appreciate it.
recognize this year's Spirit of Tewaaraton honoree. For decades, Jack Emmer has been one of the most respected leaders and innovators in the sport of lacrosse. A Hall of Fame coach, world champion, mentor, and steward of the game, Coach Emmer built a remarkable career defined not only by wins and championships, but by generations of players and coaches he has influenced along the way. Tonight, we are proud to honor his extraordinary impact on the sport with the 2026 Spirit of Tewaaraton Award. Let's learn more about Jack.
A legacy isn't built in a moment. It's forged over time, through discipline, through leadership, and through an unwavering commitment to team. For decades, Jack Emmer has lived those values. As a player, he stood out. An All-American defenseman at Rutgers, a team MVP, a competitor respected across the field and beyond it. But his impact on the game was just getting started. He didn't just coach teams, he built programs. At Cortland, at Washington and Lee, at Army. Different schools, different eras, the same standard. Across programs and decades, his teams didn't just compete, they endured. NCAA tournaments, national rankings, deep postseason runs. At every stop, the standard held. At Army, that standard became something more. It became a legacy. A program defined by sustained excellence. More than 300 career wins. One of the winningest coaches in the history of the game. But numbers were never the measure he most cared about. His impact lives in the players he shaped, in the teams he built, in the standards that outlasted him. From college sidelines to the world stage, where he led Team USA to a gold medal, his influence carried far beyond any one field. This is what it means to lead, to build, to teach, to leave the game stronger than you found it. This is the spirit of Tewaaraton. Congratulations to Jack Emmer, the 2026 recipient of the Spirit of Tewaaraton Award.
Year's Spirit of Tewaaraton Award.
Good evening. There are coaches who win games, coaches who build programs, and then there's coaches whose influence becomes woven in the fabric of the sport. Tonight, we're honoring one of those rare people in Jack Emmer. For 36 years, Coach Emmer dedicated his life to coaching and teaching the game of lacrosse. His journey began at Cortland State, continued on at Washington and Lee University, before a legendary 22-year tenure at the United States Military Academy. Coach Emmer helped prepare young people to lead when leadership matters most, to be their very best when times are at their worst. That responsibility shaped the standards he demanded every single day: toughness, preparedness, discipline, accountability, and attention to detail. His players learned quickly that the details mattered because people mattered. His impact reached far beyond the college game. In 1974, he served as an assistant coach for Team USA in the very first World Lacrosse Championships, helping lay the foundation for international competition. Nearly 3 decades later, he returned to the world stage and led Team USA to a gold medal in 2002. A fitting achievement for someone who spent his life representing the game with integrity and passion. And when his Hall of Fame coaching career ended, his service to lacrosse never did. Because the blessing of coaching is that you never really know when your influence stops. Coach Emmer coached Hall of Fame coaches Bill Tierney, Dave Urich, Paul Wareham, and Mike Pressler. On his staffs were dozens of coaches who continue to shape young people's lives today. And for me personally, I had the blessing of becoming Coach Emmer's assistant in 1994. For the past 32 years, I've had an incredible fortune of having Coach and his wife Joni as role models, mentors, and friends. Their influence on me is immeasurable. That is legacy. Not simply the games won, but the people developed, the standards passed down, the generations of leaders, teachers, and coaches who continue carrying his lessons forward. There's a quote that perfectly captures Coach Emmer's life. We make a living by what we get. We make a life by what we give. Coach made a remarkable living in lacrosse, but his life's work has been defined by what he has given to his family, to his players, to his fellow coaches, to West Point, and to the game itself. Tonight, we honor not only one of the greatest coaches in the history of lacrosse, but one of the game's greatest servants. Please join me in celebrating the recipient of the Spirit of the Tewaaraton Award, Coach Jack Emmer.
You waiting for me?
Right on time.
Perfect, Jack. Thank you so much. When you think about the scope of your career, everything you achieved in the game, as a player at Rutgers, as a coach at Cortland, Washington and Lee, of course, Army, you think about all the people you influenced. What are the things that matter most to you about all of that?
Let's see.
Basically, Jeremy, it was the opportunity to work with great young people who had an ability and an interest in excelling. And I kind of taught them how to work a little bit harder, how to dedicate themselves, how to be loyal to the program, and not to think of themselves first. At the United States Military Academy, which is a very special place, those cadets never think of themselves first. They always think of the team first. And that's the key to any success that we've had there. My career before the United States Military Academy was at Washington and Lee for 11 years and Cortland State for 3 years. Met my bride at Cortland State. And W&L turned out to be a very, very special place. Although they're a Division III program now, back in the day we did participate in Division I. Managed to beat Virginia for 5 straight years, which people have long forgotten.
Some people.
And on those W&L teams, on one team in '74, we had 4 players that made the Hall of Fame. Not only first team All-Americans, but made the Hall of Fame. Just a tremendous group of guys. And the 3 years I spent in Cortland, Jeremy, we still have contact with many of those guys who went into the teaching, coaching profession, and we've stayed close to them all these years. I consider so many of them friends.
Nobody has given more to the game. Nobody has helped develop the game more than you have. But, you know, you were exposed to all kinds of sports when you were growing up. You were drafted by the New York Jets. I believe it was the first unified draft, NFL, AFL in 1967. So what's special about this game?
Well, that's an interesting question, Jeremy. This game is special for a lot of reasons. It's the indigenous game. It's America's game. And it's a terrific game. We've seen the skills develop incredibly, Jeremy, over the years. In my early days, handling a big, long wooden stick that you could hardly lift up, no less cradle, the advent of the plastic stick changed the game, and now the skill level has changed the game. If I can editorialize maybe for a minute and see where the game's going, Jeremy.
Please do.
I'd like to say just a couple of quick things. One, the college game is a great game, but I'm not sure we should be playing it on February 1st. It's tough on the fans. It's very tough on the players. My suggestion, not unlike basketball, let's play a couple games every week. In March, in April, you got 9 weeks there. You could play 18 games. The players, by the way, would love that. They wouldn't have to listen to the coach all week long. They'd have 2 games a week, and they'd enjoy that. I think that would really improve the game from a spectator standpoint. And the other thing, which might be controversial, and for all you face-off guys out there, you're not going to like this.
This is great.
You know, back in the day, early days of basketball, early days, they used to have a jump ball after every basket. They sat around a rules table and said, you know, maybe we should take that jump ball out. It might speed up the game. They did. The same thing, I believe, with lacrosse. In 1980, the Rules Committee decided to do away with the face-off. People have forgotten that. But the mistake that was made was the ball, after a goal, was put back in at the midfield line. And thereby came the advent of a long stick. People sub long sticks to defend that situation. If you took, after a goal, and put it on the back line without substitution and had to clear the ball, similar to basketball, taking the ball out of bounds after a basket, you would strengthen the riding game, create excitement in the clearing game, and it would really improve the pace of the game. Sorry, face-off guys. You're terrific. But I think it would speed up the game, and I think it would create a lot of interest.
Well, that's terrific. I mean, this is invaluable. Is there anything else? I mean, you have the floor, and we have time. This is the moment. You've been thinking about it, clearly.
Well, I'm not sure what else to say. Two of those points, Jeremy, might be enough for one evening.
Those are 2 pretty good ones. But this, I mean, this exemplifies, what you've meant to the game. You're still thinking about it. You still want to improve it. You still want to make it as great as it can possibly be. And this is why you have been presented with the spirit of Tewaaraton. Thank you, Jeff.
Thank you. Thank you.
We now turn to one of the greatest players in the history of lacrosse, a dominant scorer, visionary playmaker, and leader of one of the sport's great dynasties at Cornell University. Michael French helped redefine excellence in college lacrosse during the 1970s. A national champion, player of the year, and Hall of Famer in both the United States and Canada, his impact on the game continues to be felt across generations. Tonight, we are honored to recognize Mike French as the 2026 Tewaaraton Legend. Here's a little bit more about Mike.
Before the records, before the titles, before anyone knew his name, there was a Canadian kid raised on box lacrosse, a game whose tight spaces, quick decisions, and economy of motion sharpen instinct into certainty. So when the field opened up, Mike French didn't merely adapt to it, he mastered a game he hadn't grown up playing. At Cornell, he didn't ease in, he took over.
Great All-American, Mike French. Watch him. Oh! French with an opening and scores!
When Mike French, number 17, the nation's leading scorer, blasts one home for his second goal of the game.
Mike French. Frank, he's just a tremendous player. Now, this is a classic
He became the engine of one of the greatest dynasties the college game has ever seen. A quarterback at X, before the position had a name.
Mike French with a pass into Del Moreno and Cornell and tied it up.
He saw plays before they happened.
You won't see many plays in lacrosse ever that are any better than that. Mike French, and watch this behind the back pass, fires the ball into goal.
Excuse me.
When the moment demanded everything, he delivered more.
Undefeated Maryland beat undefeated Cornell for the lacrosse championship, the NCAA championship.
French went on to display one of the most dazzling solo efforts in the 25 years of championship play.
I just can't believe the comeback and the Mike French show.
Mike French was a man on a mission, scoring 7 goals to go along with 4 assists.
7 goals, a national championship on the line.
He realized that he wasn't going to win unless he really took charge of the game. And he certainly did.
The stick Mike had looked like a magician with a wand in his hand.
The French show was in full swing, and Cornell took the lead.
Overtime.
Truckerini going in, all alone. He fires over to French. French scores his 7th goal. He has 4 assists. What a day for Mike French.
If greatness has a standard, he was it. 3 consecutive Final Fours with an undefeated national championship season. 105 points in a single season. 2nd all-time at Cornell in goals. 3rd in points in just 3 seasons. Recipient of the Enners Award as the nation's top player. And beyond college, he would prove it on every stage the game could offer, including the transcendent 1978 World Championship with Team Canada. All of it is part of the legend. Mike French didn't just dominate his era, he defined it.
What can you say about Mike French other than he is one great lacrosse player?
Congratulations to Mike French, 2026 recipient of the Tewaaraton Legend Award.
Now, please welcome Cornell great and Michael's line mate at Cornell, Jonathan Levine.
Well, I have the privilege of being a member of the French Connection. Mike French, Eamon McEnany, and myself. Well, what I learned from this team and these players is that life is a team sport, and everything is possible. It's such a great honor to be here tonight to introduce the recipient of the Tewaaraton Legend Award, my teammate and my best friend. But let me be braggadocious for a moment, because Mike never would be. For his humility is a shining light of who he is. And it's said if you say things the second time, everybody's going to remember it. So you might hear a few things that Jeremy just stated. But in 1976, Mike French was the best lacrosse player in America, receiving the Enners Award as the outstanding player in Division I, the Jack Turnbull Award as the outstanding attackman, 3-time All-American, First team 75 and 76. Third team 74. Ivy League Player of the Year. 76 national championship game alone, he scored 7 goals and added 4 assists, as you just heard. But his 105 points and 65 goals that season remain Cornell record to this day. And in just 3 years, he became Cornell's all-time leading scorer, 296 points for decades. That's the 191 goals, and to this day, he's the 3rd highest point scorer in Division I history for points per game, 6.3 points per game. Boy, that's 50 years later. Well, it's worth noting back then, freshmen were required. We had to play freshman ball, and we weren't eligible for the varsity. You know, Mike achieved every one of those records in just 3 varsity seasons. The number that stands still decades later. He was inducted into the Lacrosse Hall of Fame in '92, named to the NCAA Silver Anniversary Lacrosse team in '95. Ithaca Journal, Cornell Daily Sun, both named him Athlete of the Year. But I have to tell you, the stats don't capture the half of it. Because there are moments in sport, and for me personally, that can stay with you forever. Well, our very first game as Cornell freshman, Frenchie finds me cutting, fires a behind the pass, classic French, behind the back pass, and it was the goal to win the game. And I thought to myself, the first game we played together, who is this guy? Well, fast forward 4 years later, it's the last game we played together, 1976 National Championship. Same move, same trust, same result that iced the win over Maryland. And that was my French. But what separates legends from great players is what they do next. Mike led the league in scoring in the first NLL game ever played. He came back as GM and won 3 championships, coached a 4th, and became majority owner of the Philadelphia Wings for over 35 years. And the players that he brought to the Wings became coaches in the area. And together, they changed an entire region for lacrosse. He would never tell you any of this. That humility, that quiet, generous spirit, giving and determined, is the mark of the man. Well, Frenchie, my teammate, my brother, he has given so much to his teammates, to the game of lacrosse, and truly there is no one more deserving of this moment. Please welcome Michael George French.
Mike, congratulations. It's always great to see you, sir. That one.
Thank you.
So, I first met Mike just 50 years ago. It was 50 years ago this spring, actually. My father took me to see Mike and John and Eamon and all those guys play Rutgers. And I think it was a game on Long Island. Didn't you guys play Rutgers on Long Island that season? I think we did. That's right. And I have been following him ever since. He is one of the great gentlemen in the world of sports and beyond, one of the great players, of course, of all time, as you guys already knew, and as the videos in John's speech further demonstrated. When you think about your journey, Mike, from Canada to Cornell, winning that national championship half a century ago, what does it all mean to you now?
Well, it's obviously was really the highlight of my life, being able to share that experience with my teammates, many of whom are here. It was, when I think about Cornell University and what it did for me, and for so many other student athletes, it's just it was amazing. I was kind of plucked out of Canada from a small town, and back then there was no film, there was no, Coach Moran relied on referrals from people, some of them I didn't even know, and he took a huge chance on somebody. Back then there was a lot of kids playing hockey at Cornell from Canada, but not really any playing lacrosse. So, what ended up being a wonderful bus ride and, an opportunity to play for Coach Moran, and ultimately resulted in us playing the national championship and me getting the opportunity to play with some of the greatest players from the United States and meeting them, and then they becoming my best friends. So, couldn't be better. And I think about 50 years ago, I just remember it so fondly.
Richie, who we lost a few years ago, was obviously an enormously influential figure in the game, enormously important in the lives of those who played for him. How did he help shape the man that you would become?
Well, it was pretty, I was, came from a family that, had not really been, my parents hadn't finished high school, so when I got there, I was a real fish out of water. Thank God we had a freshman year. I didn't have to be challenged by trying to make the varsity team, and I had so many teammates that were helpful. But Richie, gave me a lot of tough loving because I really wasn't used to being a student. And my first semester, and I struggled, and he took me aside and gave me some real tough love, which helped me kind of get it together, and realize what the importance would be of being the first person in my family to have a college education, let alone a college education from Cornell. So I owe a tremendous amount, not only to Richie, but Cornell University, and a lot of my friends that are here and teammates.
We're coming up, as you know, Mike, in a few months on the 25th anniversary of 9/11. And you lost one of your best friends, Eamon, on 9/11, Eamon McEnany, a previous recipient of this award, a year behind you at Cornell. You guys were like brothers. When you think about that connection that you built with Eamon, and now it will be a quarter century since we lost him, what thoughts are uppermost in your mind?
Well, yeah, and I know, Jeremy, you've been very much involved with the McEnany family in support of. It just is, it's hard to believe, quite frankly, that, it's been 25 years. Eamon was, he was just a spark plug. He was a friend. There couldn't have been probably three attackmen that were from more different backgrounds than Jonathan Levine, Michael French, and Eamon McEnany. And, it was somehow, with all our differences, we were able to form, a great attack. And I will say that without, not without the support cast of, all the other players that we had on our team. But, I know many people here that have the same, many people here that are my teammates and other people have the same thoughts about, Eamon and that tragic day and the 25-year anniversary. And, there's many of us here that think about him. Maybe not every day, but maybe every other day.
With all the ways you've contributed to the sport, and as a player, as an owner, as somebody who influenced generations of people in the game over the last 50 years, when you think about your legacy in the game, what do you want it to be?
Well, I think that I always took pride in being the captain of the team, whether it was, especially if it was determined by my peers. So, trying to be a leader and a great teammate and lead, just by example. So, but I think that also I'm, enthused about what happened, and some of it was a result of the 1978 World Games where Canada upset the United States. I think one of the things I would say is hopefully part of what, whatever legacy I do have is that, lacrosse in Canada, it was all box lacrosse when I left. I'd never played field lacrosse before. And now when I look and see the growth of the sport, from Canada, from, east to west, from all the provinces now, and and the number of players that are playing in the United States and getting educations and going on to, advance their careers in all different areas. I think that's something that I like to think of, and I'm pretty happy about.
I mean, the legacy in the game is remarkable. The game overall, and you could say particularly with Canada, we have a Canadian finalist from Cornell tonight as well. And last year, we had the Gates who were honored, of course, your compatriots as well. Last year was a special year as well for your team, for the Big Red. It had been 48 years between championships. How closely did you follow those goings on?
Very closely, I was, a fan, a great fan, there's a lot of Cornell in this room, as you know, and I wish there was even a little more, but I just was thrilled with last year, the way the team, succeeded. I'm also, thrilled with what is currently in place at Cornell, and I'm excited about the future that we're going to have going forward. It's just a remarkable place, and I know people get tired of it, the culture, the what Cornell creates and brings, and how it builds character in people. But that's what it is, and I am probably one of the biggest recipients of all the benefits that Cornell can give. Somebody that was a young kind of a kid who ended up growing up under that, the guidance of guys like my teammates and Richie Moran to become men. And I've seen it happen repeatedly over the last 50 years.
We were back there together talking about Jack's suggestions, all the ways in which the game can be improved. What are your thoughts?
Okay, I had breakfast with Jack, and I was thrilled to be at the table with the 5 male recipients, male finalists, and I actually like the game the way it is. I don't really have a whole lot of problem.
Yeah, but the cold weather thing, you're from Ontario, I mean that...
Yeah, we talked about playing in, 5 degrees with the snow going sideways, and I don't like to bring up Cornell's record versus Jack's teams.
You didn't have to go there.
That's not really fair. But I think the game is great. I really enjoyed watching the girls' final. I thought it was excellent lacrosse. I think the athleticism is terrific. If you ever want to appreciate a game, men's or women's, stand on the sideline. It's so much different than being in the stands. And you see the speed, and you see the stick skills, and you see, how things are played. I really think that it's a great game, and I don't know what they could do. Obviously, having that shot clock has made it, really is a game changer. And I hope that all the high schools that don't have it do it. And I used to have arguments with Richie Moran about 2 hands on the stick for a ground ball, and I said, you're better with 1 hand, and ward off with the other one, and shoot off your shoulder. And I said, I watch those games, and both those women and those men, they shoot underhand, sidearm, behind their back. They have such tremendous skills. I love watching it. The sport is in a great place, in my opinion.
Mike, you were one of the people who put it there. Thank you so much. It's a privilege.
Huh?
Son,
Huh?
you okay?
Yes.
All right. That's all. That's all I'm checking. Dad and mom gotta go to sleep, okay?